wise man once told me that
Don't
30
argue with
minutes
fools.
is 30 minutes is all you need. And oftentimes if you look at the uber successful people, the fact that they have back-to-back meetings is actually creates this sense of urgency, right? So
This
today
sounds
you're gonna
familiar.
yeah, it's a brilliant man. It's a man that has nice comedic taste, a food connoisseur. He could, blindfolded taste the difference between cherries Coke and
Oh,
strawberry
definitely.
Pepsi. Easy. Welcome back to
Easy.
Lucas Tigers and Bronzo My episode 942.
Lucas did it.
Lucas did it. Cage is starting hashtag trends. I got three topics, but anything that's top of mind, feel free. But I ended
Before
up
the
making-
topics, big thank you to anybody who's within ear distance, eye distance of this. If you're watching it on YouTube or you're listening to it wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Anchor, you name it, wherever it is. I am paying attention to the numbers today because we are, setting record numbers. Yesterday was a record listen day. The week is a record listen week. The 2-week period is a record 2-week listen period. And we have to thank you guys for that. But more importantly, the message that I take from that is, we've had some interesting episodes about the hobby head fake and, what happens in the first couple quarters and pricing going up in January and February and then it being a head fake. To me, after seeing the Philly show, after hearing folks talk about the Dallas show, after having guests on like Tanya, like Shia Beautiful, talking about real passion for the sport that bleeds into the cards, and then seeing the numbers, I am excited. I am optimistic. I am really looking forward to the next chapter, the next quarter, the next 6 months of the hobby, be it Mint Collective, be it National coming up, be it, basketball playoffs, baseball starting up, football, all the free agency, drafts, NCAA, all of it. I'm looking forward to it all. I'm having a lot of fun, and I just wanted to come on really quick before we get into the topics and say thank you to anybody out there who's a supporter of the show. Thank you.
If I've learned anything, slow clap, golf clap. By the way, there's a lot of golf influencers. They don't look like golf influencers. My Twitter feed is all over the place. But anyway, we're not going to go into that. Paige Sporadic, and then there's like Holly Sanders.
Sporadic, not sporadic.
There's Twitter has this thing. I just realized it has following and for you.
Okay. Why is for you always blonde women?
It literally is, and I'm like, where's this chick? And then she's like, check out my form, and it's like her wearing 1/3
a golf outfit. It's a golf outfit. It's a golf outfit.
It's a golf outfit at the John Morant club that he went to. Yes.
Oh, okay.
But what I'll say is, if I've learned anything about the hobby, Cage, is your excitement is probably the opportunity to sell.
Really?
Because that excitement is going to go away over the
summer.
summer.
Put some ice water on it. Just ice water it up.
Well, when there's demand is when you want to sell, because when that demand goes away, when people go back to spring's right around the corner. I saw a post today. Toronto had its darkest month in history. It was basically dark for 30 days straight. It didn't see any sunlight. Same with the UK. The point is,
it was
over
pretty
winter
dark for Denver yesterday. Toronto was seeing the light against the Nuggets. I mean, Van Vliet had a heck of a game.
Well, we could talk about that. But my point with that is with spring, spring sports, kids going, summer vacation, all that. Actually, if I look back to last year, and I think last year's economic cycle is stronger than this one, and it was pretty hard to sell last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's excitement now, but that excitement moves quickly in the hobby. That excitement doesn't always stay. It's very
fair. Fair. So I get to be a little more optimistic today, and you get to be a little more, I'm not going to call it pessimistic. I'm going to say realistic, because what I'm going to take on this is people tune into us for a bunch of reasons, right? People want to hear me talk about Chick-fil-A and drink some soda. I will not let you down. It is a little Dickies cup. Yes.
I got to tell you, I don't know what this says about us or you or just anyone in general, but they're super impressed when you drink from a 2-liter bottle. And I've been to the circus. I've been to circus. So I never thought that there was.
I'm a dancing bear. Is that it? Am I like the dancing bear?
Apparently, Cocaine Bear is pretty cool, but I haven't seen it. Is it as
I saw an
advertised?
advertisement yesterday that it was coming home streaming, so you don't have to see it in a theater. You could just pay for it right in your house. So I will watch it. That it is absurd enough where I would watch it. Plus, I think it's Ray Liotta's last movie, maybe, or definitely one of his last.
Is this fiction or nonfiction?
You know what? I have a feeling it's based on true story, but those can be, liberties can be taken with, based on a true story. It doesn't seem like it was that far-fetched that something like this story where like this is a mountain where people would use it for drug drops and a bear happened to get into some of the drugs. That doesn't seem so far-fetched for it to be based on something true. I'd have to look that up. I don't know the answer.
I thought that would be the prompt. Like, you're flying one of those like hangar planes, like the ones in Narcos, and maybe the police are tailing them, or it goes down and they have to drop the drugs.
Yeah.
It just drops in the middle of the woods, the bear eats it, and just all chaos.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the deal. But I'm usually the tangent one. So back on track, Andrew's the realistic one. I'm the optimistic one on the hobby. I think it shows a lot of growth, right? I think it shows a lot of understanding about the hobby because, we talk about this like going through market cycles enough times where you don't miss the cycle, right? You understand what's going on. And your first time in, it's like, oh, everything's to the moon and I'm hanging on to it. And then boom, it crashes and you're like, damn it. Well, I can't really, blame myself. The second time, it's like, all right, well, maybe I take a little bit off. Maybe I'm recognizing the trends from the last time. And it's that third time where you were able to actually get in early enough to ride the cycle up and realize when that cycle is hitting. I don't necessarily, if we're there with the hobby, but what you're bringing to the table here is if I'm excited and the shows are excited and people are excited, and that then leads to prices starting to go up on cards being more liquid, more buying going on of cards, that now becomes an opportunity for you to liquidate some of your stuff easier. Because
I'd actually say cards being more liquid is like phase one, and then phase two is prices go up. Okay. Like I think liquidity hits in January, and then February and March are price appreciation. And I also think August is liquidity, and then September is appreciation. Those are the months that I've seen historically are when there's more activity and a bit of in any market.
Can I throw this out there? The reason why I think right now you have liquidity and pricing because you have baseball starting, people starting to look at baseball and basketball playoffs on the very near horizon. August is when football starts. The talk of football starts. There are preseason games. People are making their bets on their quarterbacks and that kind of stuff. So it makes sense that those would be kind of your two windows as to why you have that sort of difference in pricing and more liquidity and more interest in it. Before you jump into other topics, we had the thank you. We had the fun stuff there. Ian was obviously listening to the episode yesterday, and he would have Sean Kemp jersey on, and he said, "Hey, something you guys said on the episode about how teams play better at home. We were talking about Golden State and how it's there's a home field advantage." He said that he was listening to it was Stephen A. Smith, and he said that Stephen A. Smith and a couple of guys on the show, I think Mad Dog might have been on the show, said that while the West has parity, it's actually one of the weakest Wests that they've seen in over a decade, and that the best teams are all in the East. And they went on to say, look at home court advantage. So that's what made him perk his ears up. He said, hey, like home court advantage. He says to me, he goes, look, I had to look this up. He says, do you know how many teams in the West that are playoff teams right now have a winning record on the road? Just the Kings.
It's only the Kings.
Right. So do you know in the East what teams have a winning record? I'll flip the script for you. There's only one that doesn't, the Cavs. Every other playoff team has a winning record on the road. The Knicks, you name it. They're all so that's weird, right? Because we were thinking yesterday, like, oh wow, of course everybody gets up for the road. Everybody gets up for their home team. Yeah, they would give their best at home, but it's just that for whatever reason, the West teams are very good at home, like 30-6 good at home. You know what I mean? Like real good at home, but then shit on the road. Even the best teams like Denver has a horrible record. The number one seed has a horrible road record.
Do they really have that bad of a record?
Yeah, horrible road record. Yeah.
I wouldn't say this explained all of it, but there's been way more injuries on the West side, especially to the best players, than on the East.
I mean, the West, so what's funny is the Lakers are, I don't know, they're in the play-in right now after a win yesterday. They're hovering around getting to like the 6th seed, I think. But they started off like 2-10. If they started off
16
6-6,
Nuggets are 16-17 on the road.
yeah, I mean it's a losing record. A losing record for the number one. The team is the best team, clear cut, gonna walk away with it. The best team in the West, and even they have a losing record, right? Memphis, who is number 2, 13-21 on the road. Phoenix 15-20. Golden State, we don't have to talk about, right? The Clippers are 500 on the road, but they're basically 500 at home too.
Did you go down this list though? Like here, I mean, I'll go Grizzlies, Ja. The issue.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of parity there, and it's weird.
Right.
Like, I can
Suns.
see anything happen. I'm looking forward to the playoffs because of it.
Suns, Book missed some time. Now Durant's out. Warriors, Curry missed some time.
Mhm.
Clippers, that whole rotation has been out of whack. It's been.
But they only miss road games.
Just stay with it. Timberwolves, you have Cat, who's probably coming back, but he's missed more than half the season. You got the Mavs, pretty healthy. Okay, Lakers without LeBron. Pelicans were the number 1 seed, and then when Zion went down, they just unraveled. So I'm not saying that's the reason for the road record.
Yep.
I just wanted to point out that there's been a lot of injuries, especially to the best teams, where like the Knicks have had a good amount of continuity. The Sixers have had a good amount of continuity. So the Cavs have had a good amount of continuity. Even the Bucks, Giannis has been in and out, but they've figured it out recently.
So, listen, I love it. I'm only just pointing that out just because it was a fun little additional conversation piece, adding what we talk about. And the other thing I'll throw out there for parity, the Jazz and the Suns.
Okay.
Right now, the Jazz and the Suns have a total of 4 games between them. The Jazz are 4
They
games.
haven't played at all this season, meaning.
No, 4 games in the win-loss in the standings.
Oh, okay.
Right? So the Suns are 37-32, and the Jazz are 33-36. So 4 wins in both the win and loss columns, right? So they're 4 games behind. 4 games. Right now.
How many games?
If it would at 4 games. 4. Not 3, not 5, not 3.5.
4.
4.5. 4. Suns in 4. Suns are 4
Remember that guy.
ahead of the Jazz. Why I say this? 4 games, not a lot, right? It is a lot to catch up with only 13 or 15 games left in the season. 4. Right now, the season ends today. 4 games apart. The Suns have a home court playoff series, and the Jazz don't even make the play-in. The Jazz are all outside the. I'm saying 4 games.
Jesus, stop saying 4. I'm not
between a playoff, the number 4 seed, a home round in the playoffs versus not being in the playoffs. That means that there are 6 teams between them.
One of those teams is
4 games.
The best bet of the year.
Dallas.
I didn't catch it early on. I didn't catch this early
Oklahoma
on.
City.
Plus 2,900 to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
And if you really want to go MVP, SGA or Dave, to their teams, to their respective teams, is.
We talk about Dame being MVP because it depends on how you define MVP, right? It's who's the most valuable player to their team. So if there was an MVP TTT to their team, it's a different thing.
I'll make you guys a prediction. So 29 plus 2,900 for the Grizz to make, not the Grizz, for the OKC Thunder to make the playoffs.
That's
if
now,
OKC, or no, not now. In the beginning of the season. Even when I posted in the group in like December,
like 2,500. Yeah.
If the Grizz meet the Thunder, Grizz are 2nd, Thunder 8th, but Thunder could be in 7th. There will be that Thunder will upset the Grizz. The Thunder are playing really good ball. People don't realize, they think it's SGA. Giddey's so weird. He's such an interesting player. Like, he's so goofy, but he's actually a pretty good player. And then you got these Williams guys. One should be in contention for Rookie of the Year. He's fantastic out of Santa Clara. They have a good team, man, and they're playing extremely
Williams
well.
Guys?
Is that
which Williams guys?
Okay, I'll tell you the exact name.
Lukens Dortz?
You got Dort. I mean, Dort is Jalen Williams and Jalen Williams. They're spelled differently, but the Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara playing fantastic, man. He's going to be such a problem.
Is it this guy?
Yeah, J.A. Yeah, that guy. Yeah,
Jalen
that's a sick
Williams.
card.
Yeah.
So he's 6'5".
That's a night move out of Dunris. Ian and I hit it out of our Dunris box the other day. Can you believe that? Woo! Cards! It's about the cards!
7'2" wingspan. He could defend. He could play inside. He could play outside. He could shoot 3. This Jalen Williams guy, like, no one's watching this Thunder team. This Thunder team's going to win the first round, pending who they get. They're not going to beat the Nuggets, but they'll beat the Grizz.
They got to get out of the play-in. Hopefully they escape the
They'll get it. They'll get out of the play-in. They're playing the best ball. They're playing very good ball. People haven't watched this team all year.
the first take this morning, they talked about OKC, and they said,
No.
imagine they had Holmgren, and even without him, but they don't have, because Chet Holmgren was on this team and he got injured. They said they don't really have a 2, and they were talking about exactly, like naming like 4 or 5 different guys on the team, right? And it was like, who's the 2? Oh, well, believe it or not, this kid Giddey, it looks weird, but it works. Like they were actually saying almost exactly what you were saying this morning on the conversation. They go, OKC, watch out for OKC. I mean, they were also saying Lamar Jackson might go to San Francisco 49ers, which is kind of silly. But,
Let me explain my reaction to Chet. This is one of my frustrations. ESPN does this and some media accounts do this. They're like, with the 3rd pick, it looks like Brandon Miller is going to the Spurs. We have no idea who's even the 3rd pick. They do these weird mocks. And Chet Holmgren was never anything special. He's not built for the NBA. The dude is a stick. He's going to get bodied by grown-ass men. And they try to,
Ball's a stick, and you see, just anytime he does anything, I see it all over Instagram. Ball he had a behind-the-back pass the other day.
19, 20, 21.
Ball to the moon.
It took 5 years to be even sort of an 8th or 9th rotation guy and get 7 minutes a game.
So what is it you have against skinny people?
Yes, I have a lot against skinny people. No, I'm just saying Chet Holmgren's not NBA ready, and they keep acting like with Chet Holmgren, this team is good. No, with this team is good. And I'm not even sure that Chet's going to be around the NBA that long term.
Interesting. Very interesting stuff. Josh Giddey. That's your 2. Lukens, Dort. I'm a Dort
Ideally,
guy.
Josh Giddey would be like your 4 or 5 on a championship team.
One of the Jalen's is going to be the 2.
I think Jalen Williams is good, man. He's got all the physical tools. He could play inside. He could play out. He could shoot the 3. He could defend. He's very good, man.
We got a crappy auto in that box, but we did hit that night moves, and I didn't even know it was like an SSP, like a case hit. So we got 1 box. Boom.
Don't sweat it. I'll get someone from Panini on, and you'll tell them they have the trashiest product in all the land.
All right. So you had 3 topics, and we spent 20 minutes on none of them because I do what I do. I drink my soda and I steer you. But this has been fun conversation. But even just the ability to say OKC, like OKC's fun. OKC, you're not saying to people that OKC's winning the championship. I think what makes us have the ability to even talk about OKC as somebody who could cause some problems in the first round is that the West is going to be fun because of the parity there. There is not this runaway, awesome couple of teams that are there. And because of that, a team like OKC, who will get in, can cause some problems because there's nobody out there that you're like, wow, okay, these guys are just going to get trounced. Like these guys match up against these guys, and 1 through 5, they're better than them at every position. Nope.
I like teams that build through the draft. There's something to it. Like in today's day and age where buying players is kind of the name of the game, to see a team click, buy into a coach, buy into each other, and evolve together is super cool. Like the last time we saw that was the Warriors before they got Durant. Like, I don't know if a lot of you guys remember, you wanted to root for them, right? Mm-hmm. There's something endearing about that versus just going out and buying players. I don't know. So I like that OKC went that route.
Yeah,
Dort was nobody, man. No one.
People like to talk about the Yankees, as like they just bought people. They were buying people in the 2000s, and it wasn't really working. But that 96, 98, 99, 2000 teams, that was homegrown stuff there. That was Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams. That was Posada. These are all homegrown. We thought we were going to have it again here with Judge, and Gary Sanchez, and Gleyber Torres, and those guys, but Judge seems to be the only one that's working out.
Typically, when it's homegrown, you have to fight through adversity, right? And that adversity on one end strengthens you and gives you a run on the other end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it also makes it easier to build and add pieces. So, Golden State had the Durant championships because Golden State already had that homegrown base that was already a championship team, and then they added this amazing piece to it. Sure, look at what you can do,
It overshadowed. A lot of people, I think, forget that era. Because before Durant, you guys have to remember, Sean Livingston was playing incredible ball, and he's not Durant.
Right.
He's a Durant mini-me, but he does a lot of the same stuff. He's such a matchup problem, and no one, he was coming off a horrible ACL injury. They got him. I love that team. That 2014, 2015 Warriors team was fun to watch, man.
All right, so pick a topic. You got your 3? What do you got for me?
You got one topic that we have time for. So
cool. I'll rapid
Actually,
fire that. Come on, caffeine. Boom, go.
all right. You just sold a few cards through an auction house.
Yes.
And my question to you is, do auction houses have a responsibility to promote your card or the seller's card?
I think that the answer is yes, but how you define promote and what that duty is probably going to be different depending upon, who you ask. So there's
I'll
a contract.
contextualize it.
The contract, go ahead, please. Sorry.
So if you look at the auction houses, and I'm not talking about eBay, so I'm talking about auction houses. They're probably their biggest investment over the last year. They've said this themselves is marketing.
Yep.
One auction house, I think they have 50 people in marketing, right? And when you see their posts on Instagram or sponsored posts or whatever, some cards get featured often, time and time again. Other cards never get featured, right? And I'm wondering, as let's say you're a seller, does that make you feel a certain type of way? As why are they promoting X card but not my card?
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing, right? I learned a lot through going through the process myself. I'll say there's no substitute for actual experience. And what I've learned is how much promotion an auction house is going to do for you is not something that's defined. We do contracts, right? And we have contracts ourselves. And there are varied contracts that we write up with our varied partners. We do. And, the more detailed, usually the easier it is to fulfill it, right? It's like, I want this many Instagram posts or blah, 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 right? That's not, auction houses don't do that, right? They don't sign on with a seller. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to, but hey, I got this card. It's worth $100,000. I'll consign it with you. I need hammer. I need this much. I need this percentage. And I also want to make sure that in the 2 weeks before the auction, you do at least one Instagram post. You do at least one story post. But I'm sure that can be done. That is not in any contract that I've seen. I'm sure you can, work that out and maybe add it in. I would imagine the auction house would probably balk at it and say, we don't do that. You can do that. What I've learned really is that even though you turn that card over and you turn, the marketing of your card over to that auction house, you expect that they are going to market it for you better than you can. You still have to play a role in it. You still have to try to draw eyeballs to what you sell also. And sometimes you have to draw the eyeballs of that auction house so that you can convince them that they should market it for you and use their reach, right? And whether it's PWCC, Golden, whoever it is, Heritage, if I was selling something on Heritage, and it's the week of the auction and Heritage didn't promote it, then what I would do is I would promote it on my story and tag Heritage and say, hey guys, this is ending on Wednesday, and with the hope that Heritage then posts about it, reposts, makes it easy. It's the same thing as almost anything, right? If we have a guest on our show who has a big following, it's smart for us. If we want them to promote the stuff, we would clip, make it easy for them, put them on, and they could just click a button and boom. And help promote the show, help promote themselves. It's the same kind of thing there.
So what you're saying, and regardless if you have one follower or 100,000, you should start promoting your cards or card and tag them so that they repost. Why I bring up this topic, Cage, is because my concern is for the retail guys and gals out there who go through auction houses to sell cards. But at the same time, these auction houses are clearly expanding.
Yep.
They're expanding to more auctions, right? Different business units. And I'm worried that while they're doing that, their job isn't to promote your cards, is to gain revenue from your cards to reinvest into different businesses. And as they're doing that, maybe a lot of cards go unseen, unnoticed, and a lot of sellers get hurt by going this route.
So I think the auction house would say a couple things. Number one, the fact that you are reaching out to them to sell your card for you is an acknowledgement by you that they're going to do a better job of getting more eyeballs on the card than you can yourself, and that is worth something, right? The fact that you would sell it with PWCC while they promote their weekly auction or their premier auction, it's going to have more eyeballs, more bidders, more people know to go there and spend their money than if you would have put it up on a story sale, right? Same with Golden and the like. So I think that right there, they're already providing a service for you by setting up the framework and doing this all and making sure the tech is there, ease of use, ease of use to bid, making sure that they're weeding out, non-paying bidders who can't bid on their platform. There is definitely something that you're getting for selling it through them. The additional marketing, the additional stuff that you're talking about, I think they would say they do a good enough job on it solely because their interests are intertwined with yours. They get paid more if you get paid more. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you brought this up.
Please.
So oftentimes we think that our interests are intertwined. I'll give you guys an example. When you hire a real estate agent to sell a house, are your guys' interests intertwined? Gage, go ahead.
Most of the time, if you have someone who's selling a house for you, they're going to get a percentage of what it sells for. So generally speaking, yes, your interests are intertwined, depending upon how your contract is written, though, because a contract would be, they have to bring you a buyer who's ready, willing, and able to buy at a certain price. Real estate's a little different because they're setting sort of like a buy it now price on a house. And let's say you have a house that's worth $500,000 and they say to you, what you should do, you should set this at 450 and we'll get people in here as a bidding war and you're going to wind up getting 550. So if your contract says as long as they bring someone to you that's ready, willing, and able to complete the transaction at your price, they get paid their fee. Someone comes in and pays $455 and you're like, I don't want to take $455. Their contract says, well, you got to pay them anyway because they brought you somebody who's willing,
Right. So Cage answered as I think 99% of you guys would believe. But I'm here to correct something.
Shoot.
Your interests are not intertwined.
Okay.
Not with a real estate agent and not with an auction house. And I'll explain why. Because your interest is to get the most bang for the buck.
Correct.
To get the most amount of money for your car.
Most money in your pocket. Yep.
For a real estate agent and auction house is to sell as many cards per increment of time.
Okay.
And that's where the disconnect is. On the surface, it seems interests are intertwined. You want to get the most amount, so do they, because if they get more commission. Incorrect. What their interests are getting the most amount of sales per unit of time.
All right. So, but an auction house, though, is, I mean, they have a finite amount of cards they're putting in like a premier auction, 100 cards or 200 cards or whatever it is. So the amount of cards that are in the auction are set. I mean, PWCC with the flashing, I guess it can increase, but let's just talk about like a premier and that kind of stuff. And maybe that's not really what you're talking about. But I mean, there's a set number of cards that can be in there. They're not increasing. They can only focus, so much on it. You're saying that what they,
there isn't a set number of cards. And as we see, there are more auctions popping up, differentiated auctions,
Too
and
many
more cards in those auctions.
Yep.
So my worry now is sellers, if you're seeing this period of time where card prices are going up, I would preach caution as you're going to these auction houses, because as you're going to these auction houses, remember that what they're doing is they're trying to get as many cards. They're going for quantity while you're going for top dollar. And the quantity of cards that they are selling is increasing, similar to inflation of the US dollar, a lot of printing. The quantity of cards that they're selling is increasing. Raw, graded, premier, vintage, TCG, all this stuff. We're game worn. There's way more, but the buyer pool could be said to be staying the same or shrinking. So just something to think about in these next few months.
It's interesting, man. I mean, it definitely is. So today's March 15th.
Yes.
Right. March 22nd is a week from now, right? So four, but March 15th. March 22nd is 1 week. Today, there is an Auction of Champions auction that ends, a Golden auction that ends, a University Archives auction that ends. Tomorrow, there's a Golden auctions, an NBA auctions, a Pristine auctions, a PWCC auction, an RR auction. Then on the 17th, Auction of Champions. On the 19th, PWCC ends. Robert Edward ends. Migrate ends on the 21st and 22nd. Steve Novella auctions, I think, a run through eBay, ends on the 22nd. Another Auction of Champions on the 22nd, and another Golden on the 22nd. That's 1 week of auctions. It's a lot of auctions.
If you're a buyer, 2 thumbs up. If you're a seller, be cognizant. Understand the scenario, right? This is such a dynamic industry. I think what's cool about cards, it keeps you on your toes, man. Anytime you think you got to figure it out, it flips on you. So.
And by the way, in case there's any new folks listening, I didn't have that at the ready, like a calendar memorized. I've talked about this before, but I probably haven't brought it up in like 100 or so episodes. There's a cool website. We are not sponsored by them, called auctionreport.com. If you just scroll down to the bottom, there is an auction calendar that I just read off for you, and you can see what auctions are ending. Sometimes I will find an interesting, like, I don't know if you knew REA had an auction ending this weekend, but now you know, and sometimes I'm able to find a, go ahead.
It's worth noting. It's just worth noting. And when you sell through eBay, it's instant, right? Like you said, a one-day auction. With these auction houses, it's a process, and it's to remember that if you're kind of considering, hey, I want to sell these 5 cards, so I have liquidity. Just keep that in mind as this industry evolves, where the liquidity is at different times. Any final words before we wrap?
Yep. Lucas did it. Enjoy, everybody.
With nearly 40 years as the most trusted resource for collectors, dating back to the first Beckett magazine in 1984, Beckett has been the brand that bridges generations of the hobby. We're happy to be partnering with Beckett and look forward to keeping you all updated on the big things happening at the company in 2023. Beckett. It's the name you know and the name you can trust.